Hey, welcome back. Been a long time. Get in where you fit in. Chad Ellison here, covering Detroit Lions football, Michigan football. Um, we'll get into a lot of NFL once the season gets rolling in here. I'm going to make some season picks. Probably next week, full season picks. I'll make some game picks this week. We'll get into Michigan hot and heavy here. We'll get into a lot of Big Ten football once Big Ten football starts in 2 weeks. Fired up, we're back to football. So we can kind of get on here and talk a little bit more organized this time. Got the new Facebook page, Get In Where You Fit In. Hit that like button. We're going to post a lot on, I'm going to start really using Twitter a lot. I'm really would like to start generating my YouTube page, kind of getting my name out there a little bit. Still kind of chasing that dream. At some point, like to wake up and be on Sports Center or College Game Day one day. Not gonna stop chasing that. First and foremost, just kind of want to get into the commentating, broadcasting, journalism game. You got to get your name out there to do that. I know I got a couple friends that are kind of going down that road. Big shout out to Kenny Jordan, Tom Green. You guys are doing a really, really great job making the rest of us really want this a lot more. We're going to start by covering, it's game day, so we're going to start by covering Michigan football. I know all my followers aren't Michigan fans. Like I said, we will get into more Big Ten football once the Big Ten season starts. Not a whole lot to talk about right now. I just checked the scores, seeing Michigan State was up on Delta College. Youngstown State, 28-0. Really happy for Michigan State. They're taking care of business. Offense, they're having fun. Big Ten football starts. Offense has got to be clicking. Mel Tucker's doing a really great job over there. He utilized, the transfer portal better than anybody else in the country. He's going to build that program up. Big Ten East is still here. A whole lot of big heavyweights in it. So expect a whole lot of Big Ten East talk because, well, that's our division. This is our conference. This is the best football conference in America. Talk about Alabama and Georgia all you want, but they wouldn't want to come up here and just get beat up week after week in the Big Ten East. That's just a fact. The Big Ten West is still behind. I think Wisconsin is really down. I think we're going to prove that here in about 3 weeks. Penn State kind of put them on blast last week. I think Penn State is really, really, really good. Better than I actually thought they were going to be. We'll still find that out. Maybe Wisconsin's a little more down than we thought, especially defensively. Really fired up about what we've seen out of Michigan. I know a lot of people are going to say, Michigan played Western Michigan, played a MAC school. Cool, you had a 100-yard rusher. Both quarterbacks were really efficient. No, that Western Michigan team is a top 2 probably team in the MAC. That's probably a 9 or 10 win team over there. So take what you will out of that. But there's a lot of really big games coming up. First and foremost, we'll get into the Michigan football schedule. It's stacked. We beat Western Michigan 47-14. Like I said, Blake Corum just went off. The offensive line looks really, really good. We're big. We're physical. Cade McNamara, I questioned Cade McNamara starting. I thought JJ should have given the keys right away. 5-star, very accurate. Kind of that gunslinger, kind of like the Matt Stafford, type where he's going to trust his arm a little bit. So when he does get in there, his first couple throws last week, I was like scratching my head like, what's he doing? Why is he so anxious? But true freshman, first time in the big house. The big house was sold out. There was 111,000 people in there. He was a little anxious first couple throws. I think Harbaugh went over, calmed him down a little bit. Josh Gaddis, kept him under wraps. And there's a whole lot of leadership on that sideline, offensively and defensively. And Those guys probably just told him, settle down, have fun, be you. He comes out, rolls out, and just throws that dime to Daylen Baldwin. Another guy I really want to touch base on, Daylen Baldwin, because I think, with Ronnie Bell's unfortunate ACL tear, Daylen Baldwin, I think, is going to end up being a really big guy in this offense. And I mean, a lot of people are, well, who is Daylen Baldwin? Well, he was a number one receiver on that Jackson State team that Deion Sanders coaches. The dude had 1,100 yards last year. So I really think he's legit. He's a big receiver, really physical. Your Big Ten, your old school Big Ten receiver. So Michigan's always had that back in the heyday when all we did was rattle off Big Ten titles and 11, 12 win seasons and beat Ohio State almost every year. We always had that number one big physical receiver that Chad Henne and John Navarre and Tom Brady and Drew Henson, those guys could really count on one big physical receiver to go to when games would get tight. So, Michigan football schedule. Like I said, we already finished with Western. Beat them 47-14. A lot of good things. We'll get back into that. Tonight, 8 o'clock, it's a maze out at the Big House. University of Washington. I don't think Washington is as bad as people think. I know they lost to Montana and they didn't move the ball and their quarterback had 3 picks. But they have a true freshman quarterback they're kind of in the same situation we are. They're very young, true freshman quarterback Heward, whose dad played, at Washington, then in the NFL for a very long time. I have a feeling we're going to see Heward tonight. They didn't see him last week. We get through this week. We got Northern Illinois, Rocky Lombardi, former Michigan State quarterback last year that beat us, is their quarterback. So I'm really looking forward to the Michigan defense really getting after him and Aiden Hutchinson kind of knocking him back over to East Lansing memories. Then we stay at home for the Big Ten opener, Rutgers. Rutgers is much improved. Greg Schiano's doing a great job over there. Greg Schiano's the kind of guy that belongs coaching football in New Jersey. I mean, they're just a bunch of hard-nosed, very feisty fans. Their football team's going to be the same way. Expect Michigan to take care of business, but Rutgers will push them. That was actually Cade McNamara's first win. He had to come in and save us in the Rutgers game last year. Not a proud memory of anything that happened last year outside of Minnesota. But then our first road test at Wisconsin. Like I said when the show started, I don't believe Wisconsin is the same Wisconsin team. I think they're down, especially defensively. I think if you generate pressure, which looks like Michigan is going to do a lot, the offense is really going to have trouble moving. So I feel really good about Wisconsin. Then we head to Nebraska. A lot of the non-Jim Harbaugh believers and non-Michigan believers kind of compare Frost and Harbaugh to each other. It's going to be fun to kind of mix up with those guys. Another team that's really down, I think Frost is really having trouble recruiting. I would expect Michigan to go in, take care of business, kind of stay sharp. Then we come back home for Northwestern. Northwestern kind of got pushed around by Michigan State a little bit. I don't think Northwestern can really move the ball on offense, but with Pat Fitzgerald as the head coach, they're definitely going to be gritty, tough, very sound on defense, which you didn't see against Michigan State. A lot of missed tackles. That's why Kenneth Walker III had almost 300 yards rushing. I would expect Northwestern to get that fixed this week, next week, the week after. I didn't really look at the Northwestern schedule, what's coming up for them. But I would expect that Fitzgerald's going to fix the missed tackles and missed assignments on defense. I still don't really think they have enough skill on offense. They might be the worst team in the Big Ten. After that, we head for the big one. And a lot of people go, oh, it's Ohio State. That's all we care. No, we care about beating Michigan State. Michigan State is our number one rival. Mel Tucker's building a foundation over there. They're we found out last year we were supposed to beat them by 3 touchdowns, and they were focused mentally, physically for that game. Mel Tucker beat Jim Harbaugh up. This year, we're going to come. We're a lot more sound, physical. Cade McNamara takes care of the ball. He does not force into questionable reads. Our offensive line is a lot bigger, faster, stronger. Corum has a lot of burst. I'm still questioning Hassan Haskins. It looks like he might be hurt. I don't really know. The burst really wasn't there last week. I really think Edwards is still getting his legs under him for college. But Donovan Edwards is going to be a stud. But Corum, he's a top 3 back in the Big Ten for sure. He's gonna have 1,000 yards this year, over 10 touchdowns. But for Michigan State, you got to be ready. I think it's gonna be, if you like that big, fancy, sexy, both teams are gonna throw it around the yard. It's going to be 43-41. You're not going to get that out of Michigan State. You are going to get physical. You're going to get a lot of after the whistle, referee splitting stuff up, 15-yard penalties. Both teams are going to be heated. You're going to get that out of Michigan State. This is for Paul Bunyan. We got to bring Paul Bunyan home after that debacle last year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Harbaugh and company really has to cook up for Mel Tucker. Mel's going to try to run Kenneth Walker right at us, and we just got to limit that. And I think our secondary starting tonight's going to get a lot better. There was some blown assignments early in the game last week, and then I'll give Mike Macdonald credit. Unlike what Brown would do on defense in the last few years past, Mike Macdonald was constantly making adjustments. Aiden Hutchinson, who we can argue if you want, is probably the best pass rusher in the Big Ten. Finally started getting home. So I'm not saying Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten. Not even saying they're the best. It's Ohio State, then them. Penn State's scary, and Penn State really gets up for us. And I'm expecting when we go to Penn State, that'll probably be a whiteout, like tonight's the Mays out. They'll be ready for us. I'm saying that Michigan's going to compete. Michigan has a lot of talent. Michigan's really young, especially in the secondary and the offensive line, the running back room, the quarterback room. There is a lot of talent. We have some really fast wide receivers. So we're going to be ready. First and foremost, got to beat Michigan State. You have to beat your rivals. If Harbaugh can't beat his rivals, we might be talking about a new head coach here in January and February. After the Michigan State game, another showdown. Indiana in the Big House. I know Indiana had a really bad showing last week. Penix kind of didn't look right. I still don't really think he's 100% healthy. Indiana has a lot of talent, especially out wide with Freifogel. Penix throwing it around the yard. I really think they're getting away from the big running backs they used to have. They kind of just want to spread it out, get people in space, which kind of what college football is going to. After Indiana, it doesn't get any easier. Happy Valley. I will guarantee it's a whiteout that night. It'll be loud. Franklin and Harbaugh like getting after each other. You'll hear it all week heading up to that game. But Michigan gets through Michigan State, Indiana, Penn State. That's the heart of the schedule right there. Get through those 3 games. Prove you have heart. Prove you're tough. Then we head out to Maryland, which is crazy, man. Go to Penn State and Maryland within 2 weeks. Maryland's going to try to set it up to be the trap game, knowing Ohio State's lingering. I really think Michigan's bigger, faster, stronger than Maryland. They got Tua's little brother, Talia. They run the read option really, really well. They got some athletes. They got former Michigan linebacker Brandon Jennings, top defender. So they're going to be, Maryland's going to be athletic. I still think Michigan athletically is better. And then we end it at the Big House against Ohio State. They're playing right now. They're in a 7-7 game with Oregon. When I started this podcast, expect that to be close through the first half. With Kylan Thibodeau not playing, who is maybe the best prospect coming up for the draft, he's not out there rushing the passer. I expect Ohio State to pull away late. That Henderson kid at running back at Ohio State is special. He's, put him in line with the rest of these running backs that have went to the NFL. But Henderson, he's crafty. I don't know what Stroud really is. I guess finding out a little bit about Stroud today. I think the Ohio State schedule is a little soft. I mean, they still have to play Penn State and Indiana. But, they're a Purdue or Illinois. Illinois is building. I don't know if Illinois competes with them this year, but, people are going to try to push them, especially early in games. If you can get two C.J. Stroud, kind of confuse him a little bit. He does get confused. He did that last week. But then his receivers on the outside are just NFL first-round picks. He's got 3 or 4 guys that are going to end up being first-round picks out wide at Ohio State right now. Their athletes are just better than everybody else's. Olave, best wide receiver in the country. So, they're gonna stretch you out, wear you down, and they don't make mistakes. So if you can't get to C.J. Stroud, it'll be a long day against Ohio State. So that's a Michigan football schedule. The Michigan coaching staff, big overhaul this year. Jim Harbaugh is back this year. A lot of naysayers. I was one last year. I was ready to wash my hands of it, go get a Chad Campbell or a big hot name that could kind of rebuild this. And this is still Michigan. I'm old enough to remember when things were really, really good around here. When we played at noon every week, and you knew we were just going to beat everybody up. We were just bigger and stronger than everybody. You didn't come into the big house and leave without a few guys limping and a quarterback being out the following week. We got to get back to being Michigan strong. I'll start with Ben Herbert, back as a strength and conditioning coach. The dude is a monster. I seen J.J. McCarthy's tweet yesterday about Ben Herbert made a speech. He fired the entire program up. They had coaches hitting walls, and Michigan's ready for tonight. Michigan knows that a lot of people are still questioning them. They are embracing this underdog status. They will embrace that underdog status this entire year. I hope after the Ohio State game, we look back and we said, hey, we just had a hell of a year and beat some really, really good football teams. And if we don't make the playoff, we don't beat Ohio State and Wisconsin and Penn State, we get a New Year's Bowl. Harbaugh's got to start winning his bowl games. I don't care if it's the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Go out there and win that football game. You have the athletes here. I know the way college football is now, if a guy knows he's going high in the draft, sometimes he sits and he doesn't play in the bowl game. If a Corum is having a monster year and he decides to sit, or Aiden Hutchinson decides to sit, the next man's got to be up. David Ojabo has got to come in, rush the pass the same way. Braden McGregor he's going to be the next Hutchinson. The kid is just an absolute monster. He's got to come in, set the tone. So Josh Gaddis back as the offensive coordinator. That was another guy last week. I was kind of a wreck, especially in the first half. Some of the plays that were being called, I just didn't understand it. Now looking back, they were kind of easing McNamara into it. They weren't letting him sling it around. McNamara is not a gunslinger. He is an efficient, game manager. So Gaddis kind of felt that out. They got the running backs going. Gaddis is in Jim Harbaugh's same seat. You don't do it this year, you're looking for your next job. I don't know where that would be. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some interest for him. He is an innovative offensive coach. He came from a lot of big innovation offensively, Alabama. Mike McDonald is our new defensive coordinator. I absolutely love this guy. He's my favorite coach on the staff, maybe outside of Mike Hart for obvious reasons. But love Mike McDonald. Love his 3-4 that he runs. He moves around a lot. He masks a lot of coverages. He masks the blitz. You don't know, outside of Hutchinson, there's a lot of moving around. The linebackers move a lot. Our linebackers are really athletic. Little worried about our secondary outside of Dax Hill. Dax Hill now does not just stay out at safety. He's kind of the nickelback, goes to the slot, moves around, rushes the passer. He'll go out and he'll cover a receiver, which, you know, against some of these teams got coming up. Even tonight, you could see Dax Hill out covering our wide receiver as a corner, and then coming into the slot and maybe confusing the quarterback a little bit. You're going to see a whole lot of mass coverages. We're going to back out of some blitzes. You can see Brad Hawkins blitzing from the safety spot. So I really love what the defense is doing. We just got to make sure guys like Gray are covering, not missing your assignments, not letting a receiver run down the field. Keep everything in front of you. Just be athletes. These guys are athletes. They just overthink things sometimes. In the second half, it looked a lot better. Secondary looked better. We were getting after the offensive line from Western, just wore right down. And then the better athletes showed out. But we have to prove we can do that against Pac-12 teams, against Big Ten teams. Sure, we did that against a MAC team, and I think that's a really good MAC team, and I think that team is going to be in a pretty good bowl game. But we have to prove we can do it against, you know, Power 5 schools. Starts tonight. I don't care about what Washington did last week, losing to Montana. We have to get after them right off the rip. I really hope we win the toss, we defer, the defense comes out, and 1, 2, 3, we get right off the field. Kind of send that message. This is Michigan football. We're known to be very physical on defense. Bring 90s football back. We can do it. Michigan State's doing it too. Michigan State's proven that you don't have to go into the spread like Ohio State and like Penn State. You can just stay under center, hand the ball off, play really well offensively. It's all you got to do. This is still the Big Ten. You can beat the bigger teams in bowl games and the playoffs running this offense. You do not have to go spread it out. And when you do go in shotgun, your running back's got to be able to block. Kenneth Walker's proven it at Michigan State. I keep watching some of the blitzes he's picking up, and he's not a very big back. Corum proves. Corum has been able to pass block. Haskins is one of the best pass blockers I know. Edwards was known for laying people out in high school if you kind of tried to blitz them. So you got to do the little things on offense to kind of keep the chains moving. I expect to see tight ends a whole lot more. But we'll get back to kind of getting off base here with the coaching staff. Ron Bellamy, a big Detroit guy, former Michigan Wolverine, coaching the safeties. Jay Harbaugh's got the tight ends. My man Mike Hart, welcome home. Coaching the running backs. Kind of, you're an associate head coach. So Mike Hart's doing a lot of work with Harbaugh. I believe Mike Hart will not let Harbaugh fail right now. That was a home run hire. I mean, I'm going to go down this list. There's a couple other big home run hires that we did. I believe we're saving Michigan football with some of these hires. Mike Hart, Steve Clinkscale, Matt Weiss with the quarterbacks, Sean Newell with the defensive line. He's doing a really, really good job. And we didn't know Sean Newell could recruit until Don Brown kind of got out of here and the handcuffs come off. Now Sean Newell he's in some big 4- and 5-star, living rooms, and he's really recruiting these guys. So that's the coaching staff. Sharon Moore, offensive line coach. Love this guy. Absolutely. He kind of teams up with Josh Gaddis on running the offense. And Sharon Moore is the type of dude where he says, listen, let's get a whole bunch of 6'6", 6'7" offensive linemen, 330-pounders. Let's punch them in the mouth and let Blake Corum just find his holes and go. Michigan football's coming back, whether people want to believe it or not. I mean, you're going to know when you play Michigan. Our offensive line's big. Our defensive line is going to push you and push you and push you. And then it's just the linebackers cleaning up. We have a lot of athletes at the linebacker spot. So I won't really go over the roster very much for Michigan. We seen it last week. Like I said, I believe Michigan's headed in the right direction. They're building. They're young. I really like the depth at safety. I like the depth at receiver. I love that how fast these guys are, how they can get in space and really make a cut and get up the field. But you can still have, like I said, 6'6", 6'7" offensive linemen punch people in the mouth, wear them down with the run, the Michigan way, and then those receivers are wide open. Eric All and Schoonmaker and Hibner, those tight ends are big. You just got to be able to catch the football. The drop's got to stop at the tight end position. Like I said, Aiden Hutchinson, Dax Hill, all Americans. We just got to take care of business. It starts tonight. So my prediction, Michigan and a maze out in the big house tonight. Michigan wins 38-21. So that kind of wraps it up for Michigan right now. Like I said, fired up for the game tonight. We'll get into a whole lot more Big Ten next week. Like I said, we'll talk more Ohio State in depth. I don't think Penn State, Wisconsin really have tough games today, so we'll get into that Oregon-Ohio State game. We'll get into this Washington-Michigan game. Like I said, Michigan State had a game like we had last week where they can push somebody around today. And then next week they got Miami. We'll kind of look at that Miami team a little bit. I've been telling some of my Michigan State friends a lot lately. I think Michigan State's going to beat Miami up. I just think they're bigger and stronger than Miami. De'Aaron King, if you don't let him kind of run around and your DN don't get out of position, he ain't going to be able to read that run. He's going to have to throw it around, and that's what you want De'Aaron King to do. So we'll get into that more next week. We're going to tackle some Detroit Lions football here. Then we're going to make some week 1 picks. I'm going to kind of talk a little bit Kansas City, Cleveland. So I think that game's going to be a monster. We start with the Lions. Brand new GM, Brad Holmes. Absolutely love what this guy's doing. Love his vision. I'm not going to say that he's built this juggernaut team this year because the Lions are not a juggernaut. The Lions, it might be a rough year. I don't want to say we don't have talent at the wide receiver position, but that's the number one concern. Can guys like Quintez Cephas get open? In the preseason, I watched Quintez Cephas work a lot on his route running. Preseason game, he made a really, really nice cut into a slant for a touchdown. Matt Stafford's gone. And some of you may not be Matt Stafford fans. I am probably Matt Stafford's biggest fan. You come look in my closet, I got 5 Matt Stafford jerseys hanging in there, getting ready to get his new jersey. Hope Matt Stafford does well. I think Matt Stafford is going to be in for a really big year here. I don't know if he wins the MVP, but Matt Stafford could definitely be in that conversation this year. You know, there's always the way Tom Brady and Dak Prescott both threw the ball the other night. They're both in that conversation. I don't know what everybody else is thinking on Tom Brady, but he looks good. The one interception kind of tipped off Fournette. That was just a dumb luck call. The other one, I was kind of surprised. Bruce Arians threw it up, let Brady be forced to throw that pick there late. But other than that, he looked really, really accurate. Gronk looks like he's kind of rejuvenated. That's still the team to beat. You got to beat them. I think you're going to have a shot to win a championship. But back to the Lions. Dan Campbell, the new head coach, former Detroit Lions player when things weren't so well. Things haven't been well, but back when we had the 0-16 season, Dan Campbell was part of that team. He knows a lot about the city of Detroit, the fans in Detroit. It's been rough. I really think I like the direction that Campbell and Holmes are headed in. The athletes aren't there yet, but they will be. Anthony Lynn, former Los Angeles Chargers head coach, is now the offensive coordinator in Detroit. So we'll see. I like Anthony Lynn a lot. I'm actually surprised that he took the job knowing the condition the Lions were in. But like I said, it's that vision that Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Anthony Lynn have. So I really like the direction it's headed in. Aaron Glenn, former NFL player, is now the defensive coordinator. He's the one with his hands full. Our secondary is rough. We're going to have to get after the passer and help guys like... I think Jeff Okudah at some point is going to be really, really good like he was at Ohio State. But you put him on an island against Devontae Adams, and it's a rough day, and it has been. He got caught in the preseason, kind of looking in the backfield, got burned on a route. Tracy Walker, he thought was behind him and wasn't. Ben Roethlisberger, as a veteran, made Okudah pay on it. I really think with Romeo Okwara, Flowers, the big D tackles we just drafted, I really, really think we can get after the passer a little bit. We're going to have to prove it against Garoppolo. But I think Detroit is headed in the right direction. Like I said, this will be a rough year. I'm still a diehard Detroit Lion fan. I only see about 5 or 6 wins on the schedule. And that might be beating a Green Bay or Minnesota that a lot of other people are saying, no, that's not going to happen. But there's some games on the schedule that Baltimore coming to Ford Field week 3, that could be a game where Detroit shocks some people. That the stadium will be rocking. If you don't let Lamar Jackson kind of run around and be the running back, they're very depleted at running back right now. Le'Veon Bell will probably be their starter, and I kind of don't think there's a whole lot of juice left in those legs. Detroit needs to stay in their assignments on defense. Make Lamar sit back there and throw. You think our weaknesses are secondary, which it could be. Maybe our linebackers covering people. Let's get tested there. Let's see if we can cover some receivers and kind of have enough time to get pressure on Lamar and let the linebackers clean it up. Like I said, Jared Goff is now the quarterback here. Not the biggest Jared Goff fan. Didn't like the deal. Only thing in the deal I liked was we got a whole lot back from Matt Stafford. 2 first-round picks, some money, plus Jared Goff, who is a starting NFL quarterback. But the way the NFL is headed, I really want the Lions to go in a different direction. I don't want that statue standing back there. If things break down, Goff ain't going to scramble for 10 yards. I'd really like to have a guy that can extend the play. Right now, one of the things I'm watching is our backup quarterback situation. David Blau is the backup right now. I'd like to go out and get a backup, and I think you could at a decent price. Wouldn't be a bad idea to look at Cam Newton. Kind of hungry, come in, let him push Goff a little bit. If Cam Newton came in, beat Goff out. I know Goff's owed a lot of money. It's really hard to sit a guy on a contract like that. But maybe Cam Newton's hungry enough to come in and kind of be the face of Detroit Lion football. So, running back situation, I really, really, really like the running back room a lot. Start with DeAndre Swift. He was second-round pick. We kind of got to get the injury issues fixed, but I think we're doing that with bringing rejuvenating the offensive line. I think Swift's in for a really good year. I'm not going to say that Swift's going to have 1,000 yards rushing because I think it's going to kind of be a two running back system. We brought in Jamal Williams from Green Bay. The guy's kind of been a thorn in our side here for about 5 years. He's going to be that number 2 man, but I think we're going to kind of run the offense kind of like Cleveland runs their offense, to where they bring Hunt in on the passing downs and then you just sneakily hand the ball to him a few times. It's 3rd and 2. You bring Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is going to get you 2 yards for a first down. Take the pressure off Jared Goff. Fullback Jason Kabinda. I don't really believe they'll use the fullback very much. I think you see a whole lot of sets to where they bring both tight ends with Fells is back and Hawk, who is a top 4 or 5 tight end in football. So you do that. You bring both 2 tight end sets. Let Swift and Williams run downhill. I don't think you really use the fullback very much. The receiver room, which is the most questionable in football. That's why a lot of people can't project the Lions doing more than 4, 5, 6, maybe slip it up and winning 7 games, because they just don't know what we have at receiver. We'll start with, we brought in Tyrell Williams, former Charger and Raider. Tyrell Williams had some injury issues, and I think he opted out last year because of COVID in Las Vegas. But when Anthony Lynn was with the Chargers, Tyrell Williams was there. He's a possession receiver. I know you look at the depth chart. He's listed as a number 1 receiver. It's not the way Detroit's going to run things, where you don't have Galladay, Marvin Jones. There's not a Calvin Johnson. I'm the number 1 guy. It's clear. So Tyrell Williams will start. You have a lot of opportunities. He's kind of a bigger guy. I believe he's around 6'4.5", 6'5", 230. So he's very physical. He could get open, especially if we can start running downhill. And then we have Quintez Cephas. Lions drafted him out of Wisconsin 3 years ago, and he really hasn't got an opportunity because we've had the Amendolas and the Kenny Galladays and the Marvin Jones. So Cephas hasn't got an opportunity yet. Cephas is probably our number 2 guy since we cut Perryman. That's the one guy I really think could be the breakout. A lot of people don't know what to expect out of Cephas. I think Cephas has really good hands. He's just not really fast, so he's going to run crisp, clean, short routes. Then we just drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know my man Zach Booth out there likes him a lot. Playing fantasy, always wants to talk about acquiring Amon-Ra. He's our new slot guy. Amendola's gone. So we're getting really, really young at the receiver position. But I love this guy in the slot. He's got really good hands. Watched him a lot at USC last year. Slovis was his quarterback. And he has a knack for getting open and committing space. I really like that. You put Hawk on one side, Amon-Ra on the other side, and clear some space out. Then you get guys like, you start getting room for Swift and Williams in the backfield. We just went and claimed Kadarius Hodge from the Cleveland Browns off waivers. He was released, and a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, he wasn't good." That was not the reason he was released. It was a numbers game. They had to pay him, I think, $3.5 million this year, and they got some younger receivers. Plus, they have Jarvis Landry, and OBJ is back. So J.J. Natson, they have a whole lot of talent in Cleveland there. He was just the odd man out. It really gives them an opportunity to kind of prove something in Detroit. Kadarius Hodge, I think, will get a whole lot of opportunities. Then we'll go to the speedster, Khalif Raymond. We got him via free agency from the Tennessee Titans. He will be our kick return guy. Might be one of the better kick return guys we've had in a long time. He has another gear. He's another guy, you can use him in the slot, you can put him out wide. 3rd and 4, put Khalif Raymond in with Hawk and Amon Ra. Kind of, let everybody run a slant. One of these guys are going to get open. There's a whole lot of burst in his step. We just went and acquired via trade Trinity Benson from the Denver Broncos. I don't know a whole lot about Trinity Benson. I know he had a really, really good preseason, but, Trinity Benson, I guess, second and third team guys, was getting open, was scoring touchdowns. It's the kind of place you want a young guy with a ceiling like that to be is Detroit, where question marks at the receiver position. All these guys are going to get an opportunity to kind of shine. And then we end with Tom Kennedy, and a whole lot of guys say, who is that? Well, in the preseason, all he did was get open. He doesn't drop the ball. He can play special teams. So he does a whole lot of things. I really, really think this wide receiver group could be pretty good. There's not that top, like I said, there's not that top Kenny Galladay, Calvin Johnson. We don't have that top guy as in the receiver group, but we just have a whole bunch of role players that will have a job. And I really think these guys, Tyrell Williams, Cephas, Amon Ra, these guys have good hands. It's if they run good routes, if they can get separation. That's a whole question right now is, can they get separation, and can Goff put it right on their hands? So we'll see. It's the schedule is really, really tough to start. We'll go over the schedule here in a few minutes. I kind of still want to tackle probably the strength of our whole offense, and that's our offensive line. We kind of focused on that. Frank Ragnow, the best center in the NFL, Pro Bowler. The guy's throat, his throat got smashed, and he was back 4 weeks later, snapping the ball and against NFL defensive linemen. So Frank Ragnow will be the starting center. Our guards, Jonah Jackson. I thought Jonah Jackson was a slam dunk of a draft pick when we traded up to get him in the 3rd round 2 years ago. Love Jonah Jackson. He's big, physical. Ohio State offensive lineman. They groom guards out there in Columbus. And as much as I am not an Ohio State fan, these prospects, are good. Jonah Jackson is a good offensive guard. On the other side, Vitae, I'm not even going to try to attack that first name. But if Vitae is this big and physical, if he could stay healthy, you really are getting a push for Swift and Williams. Holes are going to open up. Ragnow's not right between them, kind of helping them out. Then Logan Stenberg, who we drafted out of Kentucky, and I believe the 5th round 2 years ago. He's big, physical. He's kind of a mauler. He's right behind Vitae. If Vitae can't stay healthy, or if Vitae is struggling really bad, I believe you will probably see Stenberg early on for Detroit. At the tackle position, Taylor Decker. Taylor Decker will not be playing week 1 against the San Francisco 49ers tomorrow afternoon. Sounds like they're saying some kind of finger injury, but it must be severe enough to where he can't deal with Nick Bosa and Armstead and those pass rushers out of San Fran. Taylor Decker will miss this week. So we just drafted in the 1st round Penei Sewell, we never thought Penei Sewell was going to slip down for Detroit to draft him at 7. I still question what the Bengals were thinking, taking Jamar Chase when you didn't have a left tackle that is going to be there for 10 to 15 years to protect Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow just went out with an ACL injury last year. So Penei Sewell will probably start at left tackle this week. They've drafted him to be the right tackle with Taylor Decker weighing down the left side. Taylor Decker will probably be back for Monday Night Football week 2 again in Green Bay, I would think. So Sewell starts at left tackle tomorrow. Matt Nelson will slide in to the right tackle spot tomorrow, but he is kind of our reserve tackle. He's a jack of all trades, can play either side, but Penei Sewell is a true left tackle. When we drafted him, I said, we need to think about moving Decker over to right tackle. Decker's getting a little bit older. Penei Sewell's going to be there for 15 years. Put Penei Sewell at left tackle. Let him be the athlete he is. There's a reason he was drafted in early in the first round. And a whole lot of the teams before the Lions were drafting had Penei Sewell very, very high. And he fell. Lions struck gold. Got their offensive lineman of the future. So our offensive line that's a strength of our entire team. Offensive line is going to be good. They're going to be physical. They're going to open holes up. I think it's going to be very beneficial. The whole question is, can Swift stay healthy? If Swift stays healthy, this offense is really going to be able to move the ball. Like I said, Hockenson is, I'm not going to say he's not Travis Kelce, he's not George Kittle. I don't even know if he's Mark Andrews in Baltimore, but outside of those three guys, Hawk's probably the next guy. He's 4, 5, 6. He's somewhere in there for tight ends. And Detroit's really lucky to have him. Outside of that, the kicker position in camp has really been a mess. We've blown through Randy Bullock and Zane Gonzalez, who now brought back to be on the practice squad. And now we got Austin Siebert, former Bengals and Browns kicker. The guy has a rocket leg. The whole question has always been his accuracy. I mean, Matt Prater's gone. He's in Arizona. He wanted to stay in Detroit. Detroit wanted to kind of go younger. So good luck to Matt Prater, who is on one of my big fantasy teams. I'm counting on Matt Prater to have a big year in Arizona. But Austin Siebert is a Lions kicker. I like that he's young. He has a really good leg. His accuracy from 45 plus is a little questionable. But Siebert could really, really flourish here in Detroit. Don Muhlbach. There was death taxes in Muhlbach here in Detroit for the last 20 years. Campbell and Holmes decided to cut him, sign Scott Daly, who in camp had a really good camp. Former XFL offensive lineman, long snapper. Everybody in the Lions camp really loves Scott Daly, so he's the new long snapper. Don Muhlbach just yesterday was hired back by the Detroit Lions organization. He is now in the front office, kind of assisting Brad Holmes and the entire front office. So, Muhlbach, death taxes and Muhlbach, you're not going anywhere. Now we'll get 20 years of Muhlbach being part of the organization. Defensively, it was where it gets questionable. We'll start with the nose tackle position. We're kind of running a 3-4. Earlier in the show, I talked college. I talked Michigan, how they went their 3-4 and they kind of mass things and they move people around and you bring a edge rusher up, then you back them up. That's kind of, the Lions are kind of doing things similar. Ali McNeil, we drafted in, I believe, the 5th round. Big nose tackle out of North Carolina State. The guy's 350 pounds. He's just a people mover. Big mauler. Sounds like he will start at nose tackle. Deshaun Hand's on the IR again. So Ali McNeil looks like he's the guy at nose tackle. John Penasini, second-year guy. Really like him a lot. He's going to provide depth. He's going to see a lot of action. The defensive end position, we brought in Michael Brockers. We called the Rams back up after that Stafford and Goff trade. Got Brockers for almost nothing. I believe it was a 7th-round pick. So he kind of is going to play the defensive end / defensive tackle position. Very, very good professional defensive lineman. was really pumped up when we acquired Brockers. So Brockers is going to start. We still got Nick Williams. Everybody knows about Nick Williams. The guy's arms are about this big. So he's going to play a lot. Right now he's kind of dealing with a shoulder issue. I think I read this morning that it's pointed towards the direction Nick Williams will play, and he'll play a lot. San Francisco likes to run the ball. We're going to have to be ready to stop the run. Levi Onwuzurike, rookie out of Washington. They kind of got him listed as a D end, but he's kind of that defensive end / defensive tackle. He's not really a nose tackle. He can't anchor the nose tackle. That's not who he is. He's kind of more of a set the edge type of guy. He's not going to rush. He's not an edge rusher. He's just NFL set the edge, set up a guy like Romeo Okwara coming across the edge and cleaning a play up. He's going to set Flowers up coming off. So he's going to, Onwuzurike, if Nick Williams is not healthy, we'll see action week 1, week 2. And he's going to be the guy, he's going to have to set up Jamie Collins and the Okwara brothers and Flowers. That's going to be his job. Then we got Kevin Strong. Kevin Strong is going to be a second team defensive end. When a guy goes down, we've always relied on Strong in the last couple of years to come in. He's done a good job. He had a really good camp. He's sticking around. Really, really good depth. The linebacker position, which is probably the biggest question on the Detroit Lions, we finally cut Jelani Tavai, who was a 5th-round pick, but for some reason Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia thought it was a good idea to waste a high 2nd-round pick on him. He couldn't tackle. He couldn't cover anybody. He played in a little school at Hawaii, but that was kind of his ceiling. The Patriots now signed him to their practice squad, and they'll see if they can figure it out with him. So Jamie Collins going to start in the middle, along with we went and acquired Alex Anzalone from the New Orleans Saints. A good tackling, kind of can control everything is what Anzalone is. And then we went and drafted in the 6th round Derek Barnes out of Purdue. And as soon as we drafted Derek Barnes, I didn't do a whole lot of research, and Michigan doesn't play Purdue a lot, so I don't see Purdue a lot. So I was like, what are we doing drafting Purdue guys? I mean, they're horrible. But all through camp, all through the preseason, I watched Barnes. Like, you cannot run a screen. Barnes reads screens really well. He tackles really well. Barnes is our middle linebacker of the future. The guy is a hoss. I hope that Aaron Glenn has a plan for Barnes to play early. I actually like Barnes a little more than Anzalone, but Anzalone as a veteran is going to kind of get the start. Barnes is going to pick his spots. Barnes is going to play some special teams, but Barnes is our inside linebacker of the future. He is, he is our Ray Lewis. That's the kind of athlete this guy is. He tackles everything moving. So you heard it here first. Barnes is going to be here a long time. He's going to anchor that defense for a long time. Here in a few years when the Lions have a top 5 defense, because, all these draft picks are going to come into their own, one of the guys you're going to look at and you're going to look back and say, some of my hot takes have been crazy. I really see Derek Barnes as being the center of Detroit Lion football for the next 15 years. Outside linebacker, and the neat thing about Aaron Glenn's defense is the guys he counts on as outside linebackers are kind of edge rushers that can cover a little bit. We're talking about Romeo Okwara, Trey Flowers, who will be standing up but rushing the passer a lot. But Romeo Okwara has the ability to cover a tight end out in the flat. Julian Okwara, I actually think Julian Okwara is actually made to be a linebacker. He's not actually an edge rusher. I think at Notre Dame, he played that outside linebacker quite a bit. And that's really going to fit. Anthony Pittman made the team. He's kind of a reserve, but Anthony Pittman is, he's kind of like a Trey Flowers, where He's a jack of all trades. He's a linebacker. He can rush the passer. He tackles really well. Very coachable. Austin Bryant. Austin Bryant is a prototypical pass rusher. Went to Clemson. Everybody knows about that Clemson defense. He's one of those guys. He's big, physical. Just has to figure out the injury stuff with his hamstrings and his quads. But right now, sounds like Austin Bryant's healthy. And then we went and acquired via free agency Charles Harris, who is a prototypical outside linebacker. Covers really well, which is why he was brought into Detroit. We're going to need some linebackers to cover. We face a lot of, on our schedule, a lot of big tight ends. He's going to have to cover Austin Hooper and, Tyon with the Green Bay Packers. Irv Smith when he gets healthy in Minnesota. There's a lot of big tight ends. Jimmy Graham in Chicago. Andy Dalton is going to count on Joey Graham as a veteran to be open. We're going to have to shut that down. Then we talk about our secondary, which a lot of people are really low on our secondary. Yes, Jeffrey Okudah was drafted really high, number 3 overall. College, people didn't even throw to his side in college because they knew. He didn't give I don't think he gave up more than 40 yards to a receiver in his last 2 years at Ohio State. So Jeffrey Okudah is going to be on one side. I mean, the guy is athletic. He's 6'1", 210 pounds. If you start getting more pressure up front, you're going to see Jeffrey Okudah is going to be a legit number 1 corner in the NFL for a while. On the other side, Amani Oruwariye, 6'2". He's from Penn State. Pretty good guy. I'm not as high on Oruwariye as I even am Okudah because we're so young at the corner position. I mean, we have Afido Melifanu, Syracuse. The guy is 6'3.5", almost 6'4", runs like a deer. Looks like his future's going to be really, really bright. I think he's going to be pretty much the number 2 cornerback of the future for the Lions. We're gonna get big at the corner position and kind of dare these big receivers to we got to D them up. Can't let them run past us. Then we got Jerry Jacobs, undrafted free agent rookie out of Arkansas. 6 foot tall, physical. AJ Parker, same thing, undrafted free agent rookie out of Kansas State. 6 foot tall, 5'11 and a half, 6 foot. I mean, a lot of size. Start talking about the safety position. Tracy Walker, 6'2". Kind of had a bad year last year, but I want to believe that it was a really bad system. I think Patricia's a freaking idiot. Wasted some careers, scared a lot of really good guys away. Darius Slay and Diggs and, Snacks Harrison wanted out of here as soon as he could. Matt Stafford was really the only guy that didn't overspeak and say, get me out of here. He did it the right way. Said, you want to know what? I'm getting older. So I think it's time we move on. But by the time he even said any of that stuff, Patricia and Bob Quinn were both gone. So Will Harris, 6'2", 220 pounds. I mean, this guy can hit hard. We don't know if he can cover yet because it's kind of been a rough career. But like I said, the defensive scheme was so bad in Detroit the last 2-3 years that I think we have athletes here that we don't even know we have. So let Aaron Glenn and some of these coaches kind of figure it out. Then we bring in Dean Marlowe from the Buffalo Bills, special teams ace. It's going to be asked to play safety a little bit. He's kind of like a free safety. He can cover some receivers. Then C.J. Moore, still here, 6 foot tall. Like I said, another guy that's really struggled in Detroit, but I'm going back to the scheme. I think this scheme is a lot better. It puts linebackers an edge rusher is in the right position to make the play instead of we're going to go man-to-man against Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, and we're going to see what happens. No, it doesn't work. Those guys are too athletic. You have to go into a zone. You have to give young guys like Jeff Okudah and Tracy Walker a chance. And that's what this defense is doing. This defense is asking you, let's get our linebackers and our defensive ends in space to make plays, to tackle people, to get after quarterbacks and confuse people, move the inside linebackers around a little bit. That's why Barnes was drafted. Okudah's going to still be asked to cover big receivers, but I believe Okudah will get more physical. He's worked on his footwork a lot. And, yeah, he got burned against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the preseason, but the safety wasn't there, and he thought the safety was over top. I think Okudah is going to have a heck of a year. Aurier, I'm a little nervous about. I hope he can hold his own. He'll be starting on the other side. I really think you'll see Melifonwu early. And with his size, I am begging to see Melifonwu early. And then at the safety position, Bobby Price. I mean, this guy is 6'4" and hits like a hammer. This is probably our strong safety of the future. Like I said, the Lions are really, really young. They don't know what they have yet. That's why it's really hard to project what the Lions are going to be because of all the youth. But they went out, they focused on bringing young corners in with a whole lot of size that can tackle really well, that can make plays, be athletes. And that's what the Lions are. You don't know what you have, but there's athletes there. Guys that graded out really, really high. Not just by Detroit Lions scouts, but by scouts, big scouts, Kansas City Chiefs scouts, Tampa Bay Buccaneer scouts. We're grading a lot of these guys out really high, and we see what they're doing. So, I'm not going to say I love the roster. I like the roster. I like the youth. I will say I think Goff has a decent year as long as the offensive line holds up and stays healthy. You're gonna go into a lot of games, and I know we got a lot of stat chasers, and I'm another guy. I'll go into the box score and I'll look at stats, and I'm used to Stafford's 29 for 50 for 370, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. You won't really see that out of Goff. You'll see Goff. You'll get through a game, and you'll see Goff will be something like 16 for 19 for 165. 2 touchdowns, no picks. He doesn't really push the ball down the field. He doesn't take unnecessary risks. He's going to try to manage the game, let the offensive line be physical. We're going to run downhill. And he's going to count on guys like TJ Hawkinson and some of these receivers in space to get open. So, I like what we got going on. I think next year we draft high. I still say we only win about 5 or 6 games. The schedule is really tough, which we're going to get to here in a minute. But we win 5 or 6 games. We're drafted in top 3 or 4 again. You probably look at bringing in the quarterback of the future. I believe with that pick, we're going to have a top 5 pick. There's a lot of quarterbacks coming out. Down the road, we'll get to the quarterbacks coming out, but I really like some of these quarterbacks. Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler, Matt Corral from Ole Miss. I'm in love with this guy. I'm not an Ole Miss fan, not an SEC fan, but Matt Corral is the type of guy I want in Detroit. Very, very accurate, strong arm. Runs kind of a pro-style option read offense. Runs like a deer, extends plays. That's the kind of guy, and that kind of guy will be there when the Lions are drafted. And the Lions also have 2 first-round picks the next 2 years. So, they're going to be able to address. I don't know where the Rams, I think the Rams are going to be pretty good, so that second pick will probably be in the 20s. But you might be able to address the linebacker, the safety, the wide receiver position. I think the Lions have 4 picks in the first 50 picks. So you're going to be able to really get some starters that will be able to play in the league right away. Safety's going to have to be addressed for sure. Still got to work on the linebacker position. And receiver, I think this coming year you'll probably see, the Lions target receiver early, maybe quarterback early. We'll see how Goff does, if we want Goff to really be the future, if we want to go get that athletic, strong-arm quarterback. But Lions got a tough task week 1. San Francisco 49ers, they're going to rush the passer really well. Matt Nelson, Penei Sewell, we're going to find out how good Penei Sewell is right after rip. We're going to put him at his home at left tackle without Decker for the week. And I'll admit, I'm probably going to be watching Sewell the first few drives more than I'm actually going to be watching Goff. I want to see, his footwork, which I think is really good. For some reason, and you talk about it in baseball or softball, a guy could be a left fielder and he can't play right field. He only sees the ball from one direction. I think that's the issue Penei Sewell's having, is he's struggling a little bit from the right side. He's never played over there. He's not comfortable. He's a left tackle. That's what he is. And I think he's actually, I'm excited to see him versus Bosa and him versus Armstead for 4 quarters. I'm not saying the Lions are going to win, or I don't even know if they compete with San Francisco tomorrow, but I really think those pass rushers aren't going to tee off on Goff like you think. Well, we'll get to that. The Detroit Lions schedule this year. We open up tomorrow at home, Ford Field, against the San Francisco 49ers. They went and drafted Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is dealing with some injury issues anyway, but Jimmy Garoppolo's a starter. Everybody knows about Jimmy Garoppolo. He is a pocket quarterback, makes really good decisions. His issue has always been kind of the injury thing, but he's got George Kittle and he's got Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. He's got weapons there. There's a lot to be worried about tomorrow on defense for the Lions. You're gonna have to cover people, and then he's got Mostert at running back, who just runs right downhill. He's an absolute stud. He gets to the corner really fast. And then they went and drafted Trey Sermon out of Ohio State, who is a very quality back. I actually think Trey Sermon is going to be one of the better backs in football for the next 5-6 years. Week 2, Monday Night Football at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are one of the best teams in football. You talk about the big picture in the NFC, you're talking about Tampa Bay first and foremost, but then you're talking about teams like Green Bay. Green Bay is probably the second best team in the NFC. Maybe put the Rams in there. I don't know. That West is just a gauntlet. Week 3, back at home at Ford Field against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Week 4, go to Chicago. Hopefully Andy Dalton's still playing. Gives Detroit a little bit more of a chance. Justin Fields is going to be a problem in this league for a long time. So, we're hoping not to have to see Justin Fields. He can extend plays probably better. He might extend plays better than Lamar. Lamar is a pure runner, but Justin Fields has a missile for an arm. So he can make all the plays. Very, very concerned about Justin Fields in Chicago. Their issue is their offensive line, which is why you could see Fields early, whether it's a Dalton injury or Dalton's not accurate. He can't really move. He's a pocket quarterback. He's older. Fields can extend those plays. So I would not be shocked to see Fields, if not in week 4, very soon after that for the Bears. Week 5, we go to Minnesota. Minnesota's tough, man. They run the ball so well. Dalvin Cook. They got Justin Jefferson. Thielen. Offense is probably a top 5 offense in football. their question, like a lot of teams, is how's their defense going to be? Minnesota's pretty good. I think if anybody in the North can compete with Green Bay, it is Minnesota. Chicago's defense, I think, is pretty good. But I don't think Chicago will be able to do enough on offense. Chicago will run the ball really well. Especially start getting Fields in there with Montgomery. That could be a problem for some teams. But their offensive line is down, and I don't really believe in the Chicago Bears. And their defense will just end up wearing out because they'll be on the field so much. Week 6, come home to play the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. That is actually, realistically, the first. Maybe we get Chicago at Chicago. I think we win the game against Cincinnati. I think Burrow has a day. I think Burrow was over 300 yards in that game. But I think Detroit wins by 10. And I think Detroit can run the ball in that game. I think some guys can be open. I think their defense is definitely down. If there's anything to worry about with the Bengals, it is their pass rushers. It's the front seven. But they're in a tough division. They get beat up every week. Kind of like the Detroit Lions. Week 7, we go... This is going to be the heartfelt one. We go to LA to play the Rams. Matt Stafford against Detroit. That could be the game that really propels Matt Stafford into the MVP conversation. He's got a lot of weapons. Deshaun Jackson, Robert Woods. You know, Stafford has weapons. I hope for the best for Matt Stafford. They got Aaron Donald, the best defensive player in football. Their linebackers tackle really well. Their secondary is probably the best secondary in football. I mean, the Rams have a top 3 defense in football. And now you add Matt Stafford to that, where he can kind of make some of the throws that Goff couldn't make last year to get guys open. But Stafford takes those chances and, you know, throws picks once in a while too. So it'll be interesting. The Rams game will be very, very tough. After the Rams, we come back home to play the Philadelphia Eagles. That could be win number 2 on the year. I think things are really rough in Philly right now. They went and hired a lower tier name on the target list, Sirianni, to be the head coach. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback. I mean, the guy's a winner, but I just don't think there's enough weapons in Philly. Philly will be right there with Detroit in like draft position. It's going to be a rough year. So that's I believe that's win number 2 for the Lions. It's the Eagles, week 8. Week 9, we go to the bye. So it could be beat Philly, kind of enjoy it for an extra week. And then the schedule starts getting a little hairy. Week 10, we had to Pittsburgh in the middle of the winter to play the Steelers. Everybody knows what the Steelers are. Everybody's back on defense for them. Devin Bush and Watt. Pittsburgh's going to be really good defensively. The question is, how good is Ben going to be? Can Ben get Schuster and these other receivers the ball? Claypool. They just drafted Harris from Alabama to be their running back, so they want to run the ball. You're gonna have to go up there and stop the run and kind of get after Ben. Ben can't move. It's even worse now that he's 40. But Ben looked good in the one drive he played the Lions. Week 11, it gets even tougher. Detroit travels to Cleveland to play the Browns. Outside of the Tennessee Titans, that is probably the second best rushing offense in football. Nick Chubb will run it right down your throat. They probably have the best offensive line. Baker doesn't really get touched, so Baker can pretty much make the throws he needs to make. They got Odell, they got Jarvis Landry, they got Higgins, they got Hooper, they got Njoku. Cleveland's loaded. I wouldn't call it a diehard Cleveland Browns fan, but I'm definitely a Cleveland Browns fan. I like the things that they did. I'm actually kind of comparing the way the Lions are building right now to the way Cleveland built. And it's, John Dorsey is now in the Lions front office. John Dorsey is responsible for the bulk of the way Cleveland rebuilt their organization back up. So I'm looking forward to it. I really think Detroit is like the new age Cleveland Browns team that just rebuilt in the last 4 or 5 years. So it'll be tough, especially Cleveland will probably be in a good position in their division. The North's tough, but I think Baltimore's a little down without a running back. Cleveland's defense is stout. I mean, you got Garrett, Clowney rushing the passer now. They went and addressed the entire defense. Greedy Williams is healthy. Grant Delpit's back at safety. Denzel Ward, who's one of the best corners in football. Their linebackers are really good. So circle that game. Cleveland, one of the roughest games on the schedule with Green Bay. At Green Bay week 2, that's a scary game with the weapons they have. After that, we come home for the Chicago Bears Thanksgiving. Ford Field will be rocking for Thanksgiving. Everybody will be excited, happy. Whether the record is 2 and whatever it is at this point, or 3 and whatever it is at this point, Lion fans get up that week. I would expect by then Fields will definitely be starting. So that's another weapon you have to worry about. But that's one of the games I have circled. Lions win on Thanksgiving against the Chicago Bears. Then week 13, stay at home to play the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know if it really matters where you play Minnesota. Minnesota just has so many weapons. The question is, I don't know exactly what they have on defense at this point. That might be where you'll be able to get them, but Detroit's not really set up to be the team where they're going to throw it around for 400 yards on Minnesota. It's going to be a smash mouth game. Both running backs are, both running backs are going to have a day. So I don't know if we win that game, but it might be one of those games if you don't like a 17-14 type of game, you're not going to want to watch, the Chicago Minnesota games, because that's the kind of games we're going to have with them. Both teams run the ball. Both teams want to believe they have good offensive lines. Chicago trusts their defense. Minnesota might have to hope they can trust their defense. Week 14, go up to the mountains to play the Denver Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater's the quarterback there now. They got Jerry Jeudy, Sutton at receiver. They went and drafted Williams out of North Carolina to be their running back. They still got Melvin Gordon at running back. They got Bradley Chubb. That defense is pretty stout. That's actually one of the games I'm having trouble with. I want to mark it as a Detroit win, but it's up in the snow. Goff's never been a quarterback to play well in the cold. So that one's going to be interesting. I have an asterisk next to that game. That's a game that could go either way. Both teams could be kind of in the same situation. I think Denver is a bottom 10 football team. So week 14 will be interesting. That could be like the Lions' 4th win of the year. Week 15, home against the Arizona Cardinals. I'm really, I don't want to say high on Arizona. I think Arizona has a lot of talent. Kyler is special. They're going to run the ball really well. They got James Conner. They got all those receivers. They added A.J. Green to be their number 2 receiver. Now they get to put Christian Kirk in the slot. And they got Hop over on the other side, and I don't know if there's a corner in football that can stop Hop consistently. If it is, it's Jalen Ramsey out of the Rams. But that's going to be a tough task. J.J. Watt rushing your passer now. Reddick on the other side rushing the passer. They got Simmons at linebacker. Zaven Collins now at linebacker. They're set up to be a very competitive, successful team. Innovative on offense for sure. I really don't think the Lions have the weapons to beat the Cardinals at that point. Then we go to Atlanta. This could be your 5th win of the year. I have Atlanta as they will be drafting probably in the top 2 or 3. Atlanta's rough. But, you know, things happen, especially late in the year. There could be a lot of injuries for either team in that game. Kyle Pitts is going to be a problem in this league. A tight end that's built like Calvin Johnson. I think he's 6'6", 255. He's a problem. They're probably going to put him out wide, let Matt Ryan throw it around to him. I think Atlanta's problem is very weak up front on the offensive line. They brought Mike Davis in, who's a power running back, and it just might not fit. They don't really have that type of offense. They got Calvin Ridley and Pitts, and that's pretty much it. Their defense is down. I think Atlanta's probably a 3 or 4 win team. So that could be win number 4 or 5 for the Lions. And then we head to Seattle, play the Seahawks. A lot of people are really high on the Seahawks. I mean, it's hard to bet against Russell Wilson. I just think the 49ers and the Rams are both better than Seattle. So Arizona probably is too. I have Seattle as the 4th best team in the NFC West. Saying that, I still think they're over 500 because they have a lot of talent. They got some physical receivers. They can run the ball. Russell Wilson just doesn't make mistakes. Their defense, bend but don't break. They are not going to get beat. But that's a tough division. That's the best division maybe you're ever going to see with San Francisco, the Rams. But Seattle still is going to maybe fighting for a wild card. You know, best case scenario, I don't think they win that division. But Arizona, it's probably between them and Arizona, maybe for a wild card. So we'll see. San Francisco's got to stay healthy. We'll see what they have. You know, it could be the other way around. San Francisco could be the worst team in that division and still be, you know, an 8-win team. So then we end week 18, extra week this year, which I absolutely love. At Ford Field against the Green Bay Packers. I want to say Green Bay will have everything wrapped up at that point. Could be the 1 or 2 seed, them in Tampa Bay, depends. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, everybody could be set in that week, and that feels like the type of game where somehow the Lions have no reason to be fighting to win a football game week 18 like that, and the Lions end up winning by a field goal or something. Mess their draft pick up. They'll be drafting 9th instead of 4th or 5th. So I would say this is probably a 4 or 5 win team. We'll see exactly how they hold up. But it's going to be really interesting to see how a lot of these young kids play. Penei Sewell and Derek Barnes, these young receivers, Amon Ra, St. Brown, Tyrell Williams, Quentin Cephas, Jonah Jackson, DeAndre Swift. Can we stay healthy? Can Okuda kind of blossom into a number 1 corner? What will Awarie end up being? Will Manafalu end up being a number 2 corner? Can Will Harris be a safety? Tracy Walker have a rebound year? Can Flowers start earning that gigantic contract Quinn gave him? Romeo is on a big contract now, rushing the passer. Can the young D tackles kind of make some noise? So a lot of questions around Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. Like I said, I still think it's only 4 or 5 wins this year, but we're building it the right way. Youth. Collect a lot of draft picks, 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. So, a lot to look forward to. I will say I'm going to do some NFL predictions for week 1. We'll start with because obviously the Buccaneers-Cowboys is over. It was an absolute gem of a game. Dak Prescott is back. The Cowboys have an absolutely scary offense. Micah Parsons looked pretty good. I mean, he's having trouble covering people, but Dallas is going to have to get healthy defensively. So we'll start with 49ers at Lions. I think the 49ers win. They just have too many weapons. I don't think the Lions defense can hold up. 49ers win 38-20. Eagles at Falcons. And like I said, I have both these teams top 5 draft picks next year. Falcons win a game that, I mean, no one else is going to see if you're not in these two markets. But Falcons win 21-20, score a late touchdown in the fourth quarter. Then your Steelers at Bills, both physical, good football teams. I just think Buffalo is pretty good. I got Buffalo winning 31-21. Vikings at Bengals. Vikings win 28-13. Cardinals at Titans. I got Tennessee winning 35-32. I'll say Henry will probably have a $150 rushing in that game. Kyler will throw the ball around the yard. It'll be fun to watch. I don't think there'll be a whole lot of defense in that game. Seahawks at Colts. Very physical. 23-21 Seattle win. Chargers at Washington. Another one that could be really physical. I think Washington's defense is just too good. I got Washington winning 26-17. Jets at Panthers. I think Christian McCaffrey has a day. Terrace Marshall, the rookie wide receiver in Carolina, and DJ Moore. There's too many weapons. I think Darnold has a really, really good day. I will say the Jets are going to be better, but you know, Wilson ain't getting his first win in week 1. Carolina wins 23-14. Jaguars at Texans. It'll be interesting to see what Lawrence looks like. He has weapons, but this could really be a snooze fest. The Texans are going to be the number 1 pick, and they're going to go probably take Spencer Rattler or Sam Howell, whoever they view as the best quarterback next year. But Jaguars win 27-3. I just don't think there's any possible way Houston can muster any offense up. They have Ingram, Phillip Lindsay at running back, David Johnson. I don't know why they're carrying all those guys. Outside of Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, offensive line is a concern for the Houston Texans. The whole Deshaun Watson thing is a mess. Tyrod Taylor starting at quarterback. I just don't think they have any weapons at all. So they don't muster any offense at all. 27-3. Lawrence probably throws 3 touchdowns. I'm going to skip the Browns-Chiefs until the end because that's kind of my game of the week here. Dolphins at Patriots. I think it's going to be really good. Two teams that are built kind of the same way. I think Tua makes a few plays. Gesicki has a big day for Miami. Miami wins 28-24. But I think Mac has a pretty good game. Packers at Saints. I just think Green Bay has too many weapons, offensively, defensively. Aaron Rodgers is a difference maker. Green Bay wins 31-17. Broncos at Giants. I'm going to take the Giants 20-14. I think Saquon Barkley has a return party that is really, really good. I think Saquon probably has a combined 150 yards, catching the ball, carrying the ball. They've kind of rejuvenated their offensive line in New York. Their defense is always good. They always have a, top 10 defense. Kenny Golladay is there to help Jones now. So we'll see. But I got the Giants winning. And then Sunday night game, Chicago at LA Rams. And I'm picking the Rams to win 34-24. And I know people are like, oh, there's no possible way anybody scores 24 points on that Rams defense. I think in garbage time, the Bears end up getting a score to make it look close. But Matt Stafford, that offense is humming. I think Sony Michel has a really, really good game out of the backfield for the Rams. So Rams win. And then Monday Night Football. I got the Raiders over the Ravens, 28-26, and kind of the same type of game. I think they go back and forth. But I like Jacobs. I like Henry Ruggs. I think Carr's going to have a pretty good year. So, Las Vegas wins. We'll go back to the 4:30 game on CBS tomorrow. Cleveland at Kansas City. Baker against Patrick Mahomes. You got all Tyreek Hill, all those offensive weapons in Kansas City. You got Baker, you got Chubb, you got Hunt, you got OBJ, you got Higgins, Jarvis Landry, that super big physical offensive line in Cleveland. Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney. You know, all those linebackers the Browns have. They're completely healthy on the back end. So I'm picking the upset. I'm going Cleveland in a super good game, 37-35. I don't think you'll see a whole lot of defense. I think Joe Thuney and the Chiefs' new offensive line hold up enough to not get Patty killed. But the Chiefs' defense is not going to be able to hold up at all. Chubb's going to have a $120 plus. Hunt will probably have a receiving touchdown. I think OBJ will make some plays. Jarvis will probably catch a touchdown or two. I got Cleveland over the Kansas City Chiefs, 37-35. So we've had fun. We've talked Michigan football. I've kind of got into Ohio State a little bit. You know, give credit where credit's due with Ohio State, with Michigan State. Mel Tucker is doing a really good job. We're going to tackle Big Ten football more here in the next couple of weeks. We just wanted to make sure we got the first podcast in. You know, we want it to go better and better and better every week. We're gonna start working on bringing some guests in. You know, I think I'm already working on a big diehard Ohio State guy to come in and talk some Ohio State football. At some point, I want to get with Kenny Jordan, works for Sports Illustrated now, writes for the Michigan State Spartans. He has a lot of connections. Would like to get him in to talk, you know, even if we have to meet at a mutual site, because I believe he is in Redford now. But would like to get some take from him. I would love to get Tom Green in here just to talk maybe some high school football, his take on Michigan football, the Lions, the NFL as a whole. Tom Green is a very knowledgeable football, especially football fan. And every week, you know, we'd like to improve. We'd like to get some, you know, guests. We'd like to get maybe some former coaches in here, some former players that play at either the college level. I want to try to pull something off. I'd like to get Jeff Janis one week. See if we can maybe pull that off. But every week, just trying to get my name out there, trying to make it relatable to all the followers. You know, not trying to have my Kool-Aid glasses on, if you will, with Michigan football and the Lions. I do want to tackle other NFL teams. I want to focus on the Big Ten Conference in football. But I know Michigan. I'm very, very desired to Michigan football. Things are going well. I guess we'll see what we really have after tonight. But I'm feeling pretty good going into this. Little nervous about our defensive secondary, but I think Michigan wins. I think the Lions show some signs tomorrow, but I just don't know if they have enough weapons to beat San Francisco. But we'll see. But again, you know, we're gonna post this on several of my social media sites. First and foremost, the Facebook group I just created. I tried to invite as many as I could to it. Also, you can invite your friends, add them. Only thing we ask is we don't really want it to get out of hand like it did before. That's kind of why I stepped away for a little bit. There was just so much negativity, and so we want positivity. You know, I'm just chasing my dreams. So the Get In Where You Fit In Facebook group page, invite your friends. You know, I try to share a lot of sports stuff in there. Twitter, at Chad Ellison _28. Follow me. It will also be posted on there. And I have a YouTube channel. I'm still figuring out the YouTube thing. We're going to see if it posts today. If not, I'm going to have some more tech-savvy people kind of work with me here. But I hope everybody enjoys. Please leave your comments. Personally, get a hold of me. Let me know what I can do differently. Let me know what you see, what you don't see. Always open for suggestions. Just please, let's keep the positivity. If you're a Michigan State or Ohio State or Wisconsin, whoever is your team, if you don't feel like I'm talking about them enough, which I think I did a pretty good job today on giving some credit to Michigan State and Ohio State, even though you're the rivals. Notre Dame, you're not getting that same credit because I don't think you're even good. So I want to thank everybody for viewing in. I'll be making announcements as we go on when podcasts are going to be. We'd like to go away from, my set here and maybe do a podcast at a high school football game. If I go to a Lions game or a Michigan game, doing things there, maybe interviewing fans. So, just give me your input on what you'd like to see. If there's people you would be willing to sit down and talk football, very, very open to it. Would like to get into the high school realm of things too. So that's like I'm saying, guys like Tom Green, Kenny Jordan, these guys have a lot of high school football connections. They would be really good guests. So we're gonna work on that. Aaron Pickfett, a lot of big football fans. Like I said, open for suggestions. Appreciate all the support, following. Zero negativity, like I said. Go Blue tonight. Excited to see. I'm actually getting ready to go put my Mays jersey on. Everybody should be in yellow tonight. It's going to be fun. Tony Purifoy, hope those Buckeyes are rolling right now. I'm getting ready to go tune in. I haven't really got to watch any football yet today. I've been working on this. Wanted to make sure it was organized. So, see everybody soon. Peace.